Good morning from southern Thailand. This is Mark Brackenbury, Performance Potential Pain Release. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm discussing rituals of performance and rituals of trained recovery. A ritual is essentially a habit or practice that is done with intention. When you do it with intention, you condition your body and mind, your brain chemistry, your body chemistry, the hormonal flows, brainwave lengths, etc., to go there. We'll talk more about that in a second. An easy example is Pavlov's dog. For those of you who don't know, Pavlov did a bit of an experiment. He would feed his dog and ring a bell. Feed the dog, ring the bell. In feeding the dog had a natural response of salivating. This is biological function. This is not some in-your-head thing. This is a physiological, biological, chemical, and hormonal response that happened in the dog. Well, after a while of ringing the bell while feeding him, Pavlov simply rang the bell without food and got this same response. So the idea with ritual is to condition your body to go into the chemical profile, to go into the brainwave length, etc., that you want it to go into. So rituals of performance are essentially a ritual you go through to bring your body-mind state into that which you want it to be in. Now, a lot of athletes and fighters do this to a degree, somewhat unintentionally. Many of us have had rituals that we do, and those are wonderful. If the rituals include specific practices, say food for salivating, specific practices to bring us into the performance state we want to be in, then obviously that's the response we get. In NLP terms, we're talking about anchors and triggers. And you can go see someone that does NLP and they can set up the situation to anchor in a specific response in your body very quickly. They give you a trigger. It could be as simple as pulling your ear or tapping on your nose or tapping on your chest. It can be anything, absolutely anything. And that triggers the response in the body. And we're talking physiological response. Now, that is wonderful and a great tool. Also, I think it's very powerful to know how to get yourself there and how to condition yourself to go there, how to practice getting there and going deeper and stronger all the time. This is a continuation of make all physical training, mental and emotional training. Before you start training in the gym, you have ritual that brings on your performance state. You reinforce this performance state in between each round. If you want to perform in a high performance state, you train, you practice. If you want to know how to kick, you kick. If you want to know how to punch, you punch. If you want to be in a high performance state in the ring or in the cage, you practice getting into and staying in a high performance state in training. So, the warrior moves in the direction of becoming a master of his own internal world, including his breathing rate, his chemical and hormonal profile, and his brainwave lengths. These are easily gauged by how he feels physically, mentally, and emotionally. The wannabe is the victim of his environment. Let's say your fight got moved up and you are not ready. Depending on your mental and emotional toughness, this can be, oh no, this is stupid, this sucks, this blah, 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 blah. That does not help you. Obviously, you get a call from your girlfriend and she's pissed off at you just before you go in the ring. Whatever it is, you've got some life stresses going on, your mother just died, whatever it is, these are not to be ignored, they're to be recognized, put aside, and right now you have a job to do. Two main ritual times are in preparing to enter the ring or just before you enter the ring. or even after you've entered the ring, as the warrior knows and practices and gets good at bringing on his performance state in seconds, almost instantaneously, and turning it off, which we'll get to in a minute. And the other time is at the end of a break, going into your next round, is bringing up that performance state again. I see many fighters be in a ready state for hours before the event. This is draining of your energy, and it is also not having much awareness of what the performance state is for. The performance state is for performing. It's not for getting your gloves taped or your hands wrapped or whatever you're doing before you get in the ring or the cage. The performance state is for when the bell goes and when you have to fight. All right. So there's also rituals of recovery. I think we all know that fighting for 15 minutes straight or training for 15 minutes straight will never have the same level of intensity, the potential same level of intensity as it will to, say, fight for 3 minutes with a 1 minute break for a total time of 15 minutes training or fight time. Breaks are there for recovery. And if you don't think breaks make a big difference to your performance output, go ahead, train for 15 minutes straight, and then do it again, taking 1 minute breaks at each 3 minute interval. It is very, very clear you cannot kick as hard, as fast, as frequently if you go 15 minutes straight. So, if breaks are for recovery, why not focus on recovery? This is something I don't see a lot of intentional practice or ritual or techniques to increase and improve recovery happening. What if you can increase your recovery 15-20% in a break? What does that mean to your potential output in the next round? I mean, that's huge. Rituals of recovery, essentially just getting the most out of your recovery time. Ritual is a conditioned response, just like ringing the bell. At the end of the round, a specific set of movements, of internal talk, of things going on to trigger you to maximize your recovery state, go into your recovery state as much as possible. Again, you can turn on and off your performance state in seconds maximum. You don't need to be intense and zoned out and stressing your whole break. In corners, you need to support this, and we'll get to that in a moment. Every minute, every second of my break time was broken down, and it had some flexibility, but was broken down and had specific steps and processes. From the final bell, walking back to my corner, all the time throughout the break, and then bringing on my performance state rituals going back into the round. I think this is hugely powerful, hugely beneficial, and it can only make sense to me to maximize your recovery. Corners. Trainers and corners. Some of you might not like this. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree. Some of you, if you sit with it, you may agree. You may think it makes sense. Corners, it's not about you. Okay? This is the fighter's time. Okay? They don't need a parental figure telling them what to do. Now, a corner has a very valuable and important job, and they can give some outside perspectives that the fighter might not be aware of. 10 pieces of information will not be remembered, will not be focused on, and will not functionally help your fighter. 1, 2, maybe 3 pieces of information is enough. Now, in a minute's time, 2-3 pieces of information can take 5-10 seconds to give. The rest of the time should be supportive of the fighter recovery. Hopefully you can hear me with the dog so I don't have to redo this. Let's say with parents and a child. Okay, the child is engaged in something amazing, and the parent wants to help the child learn, for example. And the parent says, "Hey, so and so, check this out, or look at there, or whatever." One, they're interrupting the child's focus on what the child is looking at naturally and absorbing naturally. But two, they're drawing the focus to the parent and away from the object. I hope this makes sense, and we can talk about it a lot more in depth than that. In the corner, the cornermen are talking, they're taking the fighter's awareness away from himself, away from his own internal processes, his mental focus, his recovery focus, his performance focus, and it's focused in part largely on the corner. It's not about you. It's about the fighter. This is the fighter's time. They're grown up enough, if they're in the ring, to be able to do their own thing. Okay? Trainers and corners, you're very, 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 very valuable. At the same time, this is the fighter's time. If he's not prepared to do it on his own, he shouldn't be in there. Give 2 or 3 pieces of information, calmly, specifically, and that's it. Let them get on with their job of recovering and preparing for the next round. What else do we got here? I made a couple notes. I'll try and cover it all. Okay, so trained recovery, you're not going to make a ritual out of it unless you do it. And trained recovery means training recovery, practicing, maximizing, increasing your recovery potential by doing it in between the breaks of every single round in training. Every single, as much as you can, more often is better. A lot of fighters chat in between, or they're talking about this or that, or they're all over the place without a specific intention, focus, or awareness on maximizing their recovery. So, to recap, ritual is specific intentional practices, whether they be physical movements or internal thought processes, pictures in your head that bring on the mental, emotional, physical sense of state that you want to be in. Rituals are very powerfully used for going into performance state pretty much as the round starts. It doesn't need to be minutes before. It doesn't need to be hours before. It can be done in seconds. Also, rituals of recovery. As soon as you're going into the break, is to bring that on, maximizing recovery, and again, going back into the round, bring on your performance state. It's that simple. It takes practice, and with practice it strengthens, and it should be practiced every time in training. If you lose your performance state and you're getting frustrated or negative with yourself, at the beginning stages, if you don't have a fight coming up, you're not too close to the fight coming up, my recommendation is to stop. Get yourself back into a performance state before continuing training. Train in a performance state if you want to perform in a performance state. Train your recovery if you want to maximize your recovery. It's not something you can just do on fight day. It's something you do in training all the time. Any questions, any comments, please feel free to share. Thank you for joining me. This is Mark Brackberry, Performance Potential, Pain Release, coming to you from Songkhla, Hat Yai, Thailand. Thank you.